Hello, I am Dr. Kaushik Mukhopadhyay and today I am going to discuss the pharmacology of malaria. What is the global burden of malaria today? So in this y-axis you can see the number of deaths per year, and this is the years that is mentioned here. So we have data until 2017. So you can see that even in the year of 2017 there is more than 6 lakh deaths. So you know that currently COVID-19 pandemic is going on, and today is 21st September, and today's global death due to COVID is about 655,000. So around 6,50,000, and it is a full pandemic. But malaria, this disease is killing the same amount of people. So you can see it is more than 6 lakh every year for many years. And due to recent measures against malaria and mosquito control, the death rate, of course, it has gone down from the 2000 or 2005. So you can see in the 2005, the death rate was about 9 lakh or maybe around 10 lakh. So from there, it is of course came down, but still a very large amount of patients, especially in Africa and in Southeast Asia, is dying every day due to this disease. And this diagram also shows the mortality in different age. So under 5, the mortality is highest. 5 to 14 years old and 14 to 49 years old, it's also, you can see that the level is also high. In 70 plus years old, the number of people death is relatively less, but maybe that is due to that the population in 70 years old is also not much, because there are other diseases, cardiovascular diseases, cancers, that people, many people, especially in India, our life expectancy is less than 70 years. So there is not many people who live 70 years. So you can understand why the amount of death, the number of death is not that much in 70 years old category, but otherwise most under 5, the death is most among the under 5 children. So 5 plasmodium species that is known to infect humans: Plasmodium falciparum, vivax, Plasmodium ovale, malady, and knowlesi. And among them, Plasmodium falciparum and Plasmodium vivax is the most important Plasmodium species that infects human, and especially the Plasmodium falciparum, they cause severe malaria, and the most of the malaria deaths are due to this Plasmodium falciparum. Now let's briefly discuss the life cycle of Plasmodium. So whenever a mosquito, the infected mosquito, bites a human being, the sporozoites that is present in the salivary glands, it is injected in the body. The sporozoite comes via blood route to liver, and it infects hepatocytes. In hepatocytes, it undergoes a asexual reproduction, and it creates merozoites. Now these merozoites, it is liberated in the blood cell again in the circulation, and it infects RBCs now. So it becomes erythrocytic cycle. Now, inside the RBC, it undergoes multiple changes and forms seasons, which is a trophozoite. And then again, the RBC is burst and merozoites are released. And again, these merozoites infects new RBCs. So this cycle continues, and so that there is asexual reproduction, which causes manifold multiplication of merozoites inside the human body. And especially the Plasmodium vivax and Plasmodium malady have a phase like hypnozoites, where a few amount of merozoites, it remains in a hibernated form. It is called hypnozoites. It is actually hibernated in liver, so that whenever the infection is over, then again from in a later time it can be reactivated and starts a new infection. We call it relapse. So this thing is present in Plasmodium vivax, but this phase is not seen in Plasmodium falciparum. And there is another part that some scions can go into the sexual reproduction cycle by forming gametocytes, and these gametocytes is taken up by mosquito, the uninfected mosquito, when it bites a human being, and this uninfected mosquito now become infected with this gametocytes, and this gametocytes is inside the mosquito. There is sexual reproduction of Plasmodium, and again from there the sporozoites, they form ookinete, and there is ultimately sporozoites is formed, and whenever the infected mosquito bites another man, the cycle begins in the new host. So this thing goes on, and this is the life cycle of malaria or Plasmodium. So now look at the different drugs that acts in different parts of this life cycle. Now you can classify antimalarial drugs in different way. So I am here in this slide, I am using a classification process mentioned in Goodman-Gilman. Now you can see there is three group of drug, group 1, group 2 and group 3, and the first group of drug does not have any action over any liver stages. So basically they are mainly active on this stage, that is the asexual reproduction, the erythrocytic cycle. Mainly they are active on that. There is second group of drug which is active in this, but not only that, it is also active in primary liver stages, but not on hypnozoites. And there are third group of drugs which are active in liver stages and also active against gametocytes. So they have proved efficacy against gametocyte. Now this first group of drugs contains artemisinin compounds. They are very relatively new drugs and very much effective. Chloroquine, this is a drug that is being used for ages. It is for long time it is being used. And quinine is also, it is used for long time. So these drugs are mainly active on erythrocytic circle. Next, atovaquone and proguanil. This drug is mainly used in combination, and they have efficacy against the erythrocytic cycle as well as the primary hepatic stages. But this group, primaquine, the third group, it is only effective against these hypnozoites. So it is only effective against these hypnozoites and also the gametocytes. So these are the drugs which have proved efficacy against gametocytes. There are some other drugs also that has effectiveness against gametocytes, like artemisinins and to some extent proguanil and atovaquone, but this primaquine is the only drug which is active against hypnozoites. So that is why you will see that in the next slides that they are used to prevent relapse. So again, the first group of drug works here. The second group of drugs, it works here, here as well as here, and to some extent here. And third group of drugs, that is primaquine, and there is another drug called tafenoquine. They have efficacy against scions and they are also effective against gametocytes. So this is one classification that you can use, or you can go for slightly difficult to remember classification. It is mentioned in K.D. Tripathi, and it is based on chemical classification, the chemical group. So 4 aminocholine are chloroquine, biguanides are proguanil, quinoline methanol is mefloquine. So this is relatively difficult to remember, and in the long run ultimately you will forget. Whenever you are going to treat the patient, it is more likely you are going to forget this classification. So it is better to remember the classification like this. Now we are going into the mechanism of action of different drugs. So first and foremost, artemisinin compounds. Now these are mainly invented in China, and this is the currently it is the most efficacious drug being used against malaria. But one point you have to remember, that we never use single artemisinin compound. We always give artemisinin combination therapy. Why that? First, to prevent emergence of resistance, and second, we should give a drug which is very much long acting again with this artemisinin. So these long acting drugs that will inhibit the growth of plasmodium for long time. So that is the main reason why we give ACT. Now let's look at the mechanism of action. So all artemisinin compounds have this peroxide bond. You can see here the peroxide bond. So whenever it comes in contact with heme, there is activation. It is broken down, this peroxide bond, and there is generation of free radicals. Now after the free radical generation, one part is bound with this heme. So you can see the drug, the activated drug, first stage activation. Activation is the first stage. So after being activated, you can see the free radicals here. So after activation, it binds with heme and forms a drug heme adduct. Another part is also it binds with different proteins and forms drug protein adduct. Now both of them are toxic to the macromolecules of parasites. So it causes oxidative stress inside the parasite and it kills them. So this is the mechanism of artemisinin. So these are the currently recommended artemisinin compounds. First, sulfadoxine and pyrimethamine. That is this combination is presently recommended in our country, in India. This is the first line drug against Plasmodium falciparum. In northeast states, you can use this combination, artemether plus lumefantrine. Worldwide, it is also very much popular combination, artemether and lumefantrine. Otherwise, there are some other combinations available like artesunate and amodiaquine, artesunate and mefloquine, and dihydroartemisinin and piperaquine. So most of the combinations contains artesunate. So these artemisinin compounds are artesunate and artemether. These are the main two compounds. Artesunate can be given via oral route, intramuscular route, and injectable route. Artemether is mainly given via oral route. It can be given by IM route, but not via intravenous route. So that is why in case of emergency, that is severe malaria, we give artesunate intravenous. So that is our therapy of choice, but that we will discuss in the next section of our discussion. So before that, we move on to the mechanism of action of chloroquine or quinine. Now, so you can see this is an RBC, and inside that this is a plasmodium, and inside this plasmodium you have a vacuole here. So this vacuole is being magnified here. So this is a vacuole. So this is, you can see here, plasmodium food vacuole, that is shown here. So chloroquine, it is a basic drug. You remember, this is a basic drug. So inside the food vacuole, it is highly acidic. So this proton ATPase, it is maintaining high amount of H plus ion inside the food vacuole, and this H plus is very important to maintain the acidic environment inside the food vacuole, because plasmodium need to digest this hemoglobin. So hemoglobin is converted into amino acids and ferritin, that is heme, ferritoporphyrin, you can see here. So heme, so heme plus amino acid, you know that hemoglobin is heme and peptide bond. So this heme, it is toxic for plasmodium. So Plasmodium needs to handle this toxic product inside its food vacuole. What it does, it converts the heme into hemozoin, and it is called sequestration. So it is called sequestration. Now this sequestration, it is very much important step to keep the toxic heme under control. But what chloroquine does, it goes inside the food vacuole of the plasmodium. It becomes protonated with this H plus, and this protonated chloroquine inhibits this sequestration process. So what you can expect if this sequestration process is inhibited? There will be accumulation of heme, so more and more heme will be there, so heme level will be increased, so that will affect as killer for the plasmodium. So more heme is present inside the food vacuole, it cannot be converted into hemozoin, and that will kill the plasmodium. So this is the mechanism of chloroquine. Now in context with that, you also need to know that this is one transporter, this PFCRT, and genetic polymorphism of this receptor, that is mutation of PFCRT causes resistance against chloroquine. Nowadays the chloroquine resistance, especially among Plasmodium falciparum, is very high. So whenever a patient of Plasmodium falciparum comes, you can think that he is probably chloroquine resistant. So why is that? Because most of the Plasmodium strains have this PFCRT mutation, and that causes chloroquine is excreted from the food vacuole. So if you can inhibit this PFCRT, then the chloroquine resistance will be restored. And today now we are trying a drug verapamil, the calcium channel blocker. So verapamil plus chloroquine combination, it is being tried, but it is not approved yet. It is being tried that probably it will inhibit the PFCRT function, and maybe chloroquine resistance may be reversed, but it is very much prevalent at this point, the chloroquine resistance, and this is mainly due to this PFCRT. So the Plasmodium falciparum cases, we do not use chloroquine or quinine usually, especially chloroquine, and we try to manage these cases with artemisinin based therapies. Mefloquine has similar mechanism of action, but there are some other mechanism of actions of mefloquine also. It is probably outside the food vacuole, but it is not known for sure. Quinine acts on a similar mechanism, but there are some cases of chloroquine resistance which shows sensitivity to quinine. So chloroquine resistance case you can treat with quinine, but it is better to avoid and go for ACT. Next, move on to the next drug, atovaquone. Now atovaquone is a drug which acts by a novel mechanism. It inhibits coenzyme Q. I think you know that coenzyme Q is a very integral part of electron transport chain. So this coenzyme Q in the plasmodium, this is a plasmodium cell, so it is inside plasmodium, it inhibits this coenzyme Q. This coenzyme Q serves two purposes. First, it helps in the this enzyme dihydrorotate dehydrogenase. It forms the oxidized DHOD from reduced DHOD, which is again required to form orotate from dihydroorotate, and that is useful for pyrimidine biosynthesis inside the plasmodium. So if coenzyme Q is inhibited, suppose atovaquone has inhibited this coenzyme Q, so there will be no pyrimidine synthesis. So this pathway will be blocked. And another part is that it also, coenzyme Q is very important from electron transport chain. So if ETC is inhibited, then energy production inside the plasmodium is also gets inhibited. So by both the mechanism, so it is called mitochondrial toxicity. So this is mitochondrial toxicity. mitochondrial toxicity. So atovaquone has mitochondrial toxicity in the plasmodium. And there is another drug called proguanil. Proguanil, that we discussed in the previous slide. This proguanil also has this mitochondrial toxicity feature. So when we give together this and this, they have synergistic action. So you always give atovaquone along with proguanil. If we give atovaquone single treatment, there is high chances of resistance. But if we give them combined together, then the chances of resistance is very low. And this combination is also used for chemoprophylaxis. Chemoprophylaxis. So a person is going to the endemic zone of malaria. Suppose a person from Europe or USA, he is coming to India or any sub-Saharan Africa. So he should take chemoprophylaxis of malaria if he is suffering to endemic zone. Then this drug, this proguanil and atovaquone combination, he can take. So this is one important drugs for chemoprophylaxis. Also they can use it for Plasmodium falciparum or Plasmodium vivax infection. Now let's discuss the different drugs, the relative comparison of different drugs that is being used for malaria management. So first of all, chloroquine. Chloroquine, it is very cheap drug. That is a major advantage, and it is being used for management of Plasmodium vivax and chloroquine sensitive strain of Plasmodium falciparum. But again, it is better to go for artemisinin compounds for management of Plasmodium falciparum. Now chloroquine, the pharmacokinetic property of chloroquine is that it is very lipid soluble and it has very large volume of distribution. And nowadays the chloroquine, the modification of chloroquine, that is hydroxychloroquine, it is also an antimalarial drug. It is very much used nowadays due to for the management, or better to say for the prophylaxis of coronavirus diseases and COVID-19, especially in India. It is still being used in India, but though its efficacy against COVID-19 has not yet been convincingly proved, but it is, of course, it is very much effective against the malaria. And chloroquine has very large volume of distribution and it is sequestered in different tissues, and its T-half, especially after a few doses, it reaches about 2 to 6 days and maybe more. If the terminal T-half is even more. So if you take a course of chloroquine, a very trace amount of chloroquine can be isolated from the urine of the patient even after a year. Even after a year, it can be isolated. So it remains in the body for pretty long period. So it is, onset of action is rapid, and it is effective against erythrocytic cycle. The efficacy is very good. So you can see here triple plus. Then sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. Sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, the mechanism of action is like cotrimoxazole. So the sulfadoxine part, it inhibits the folate synthase, and pyrimethamine part, it inhibits dihydrofolate reductase. And if you combine them together, they have synergistic action, and it inhibits the folic acid synthesis and utilization in the plasmodium. But their mechanism of action is slow. Uncomplicated resistant Plasmodium falciparum you can use, and this is currently in the regime of ACT in India. So we use artesunate plus sulfadoxine pyrimethamine combination for management of uncomplicated Plasmodium falciparum. Next is quinine. The quinine action is rapid, and it is used only for severe cases of Plasmodium falciparum, severe malaria and cerebral malaria. So this is mainly used in those purposes. Mefloquine, again rapid onset of action, and it is used in chemoprophylaxis. That is not mentioned here. So in India we are using it for chemoprophylaxis also. Artemisinin compounds, these are the fastest acting, and you can see it is very efficacious. resistant Plasmodium falciparum and life-threatening combinations, but we have to use it intramuscularly or intravenously. Preferable is intravenous artesunate for severe malaria. Now moving on to adverse effects of these drugs. Chloroquine, arrhythmia, this is one of the major concern, and that is the similar concern in hydroxychloroquine also. There is chances of hypotension and retinal damage. Retinal damage is only seen in if you use it for very prolonged period. Especially hydroxychloroquine, it is used in rheumatoid arthritis patient, and in those patients it can cause retinal damage. But otherwise, for this chloroquine therapy, you require to take 10 tablets of chloroquine. But for those patients, retinal damage is very rare. Contraindication, porphyria and psoriasis, and it is not given parenterally in children. Sulfadoxine pyrimethamine, as it is a sulfur drug, you know that Stevens-Johnson syndrome can occur, and also as it is a folate antagonist, megaloblastic anemia is an adverse effect. Quinine, synchronism can occur. The synchronism is correct. Tinnitus, high tone deafness, visual disturbances, dysphoria, nausea, vomiting, and postural hypotension. So these are features of synchronism. And another crucial thing you have to remember about quinine is this hypoglycemia. So you never give a bolus dose of quinine. Never ever give a bolus dose of quinine. You have to give quinine in a slow IV injection in a case of severe malaria, and you have to give it with 5% DNS. 5% DNS means dextrose saline. So you have to counter this hypoglycemia. And there is another thing that I should mention in this regard, that blackwater fever. Blackwater fever, this is a case of hypersensitivity against cinchona alkaloids. The cinchona alkaloids, because the quinine is it is extracted from cinchona, the bark of cinchona tree, you know that probably. So these cinchona alkaloids show hypersensitivity, and it characterized in some patients like blackwater fever. It is a triad of massive hemolysis, hemoglobinemia, and hemoglobinuria. So you will see the dark color urine, and you should tell the patient to check for that. Next is mefloquine. Problem with mefloquine is that it causes neuropsychiatric symptoms. Most of the cases it is reversible, but in some patients it can cause irreversible neuropsychiatric problem. Neuropsychiatric problem like depression and psychotic features. And you also should remember that if you give a mefloquine prophylaxis, chemoprophylaxis, mefloquine is mainly used in chemoprophylaxis that we have discussed in the last slide. But if a patient is on mefloquine chemoprophylaxis, do not give lumefantrine to that patient. I should write here drug-drug interaction with lumefantrine. So lumefantrine plus artemether, it is a very popular ACT. So suppose a patient is already taking mefloquine chemoprophylaxis. Now he is suffering from Plasmodium falciparum. Do not give this artemether lumefantrine combination. So this thing you just remember. Next is epilepsy, psychosis, heart block. These are contraindication because mefloquine has already neuropsychotic adverse effects. So better to avoid the patients, in those patients, this drug. Next is artemisinin compounds. Adverse effect, it is basically safe. But a few cases of AV block can happen, or transient leukopenia you can see. But otherwise it is mostly safe. But remember, it do not kill hypnozoids. So if you treat these patients with, if you treat the patient with artemisinin therapy, this is Plasmodium falciparum patients, you should give a primaquine also to kill the gametocytes. So primaquine is a drug which is used to prevent relapse in case of Plasmodium vivax and to kill the gametocytes in Plasmodium falciparum. And before going into that, I should tell a few words about primaquine. So it is not mentioned in this slide. Now primaquine, you should be careful before giving this drug to the patient, because there is cases of G6PD hemolysis in patients of G6PD deficiency. The same thing is also shown in this chloroquine patients also. The patients with chloroquine, if you have to check for G6PD, or you have to at least keep in mind, you should not check, you cannot check all the patients, but if a patient, quinine also shows the similar kind of reaction. So the patients with G6PD deficiency, if you give primaquine to those patients, they can suffer from severe hemolysis. So before prescribing primaquine, it is better to check for G6PD deficiency, or at least take a family history of such condition. But the same thing is also shared by chloroquine or quinine, but the incidence is mostly for primaquine. Okay, so now we are moving on to, we have discussed all the drugs, their mechanism of actions, their adverse effects, and when we use them, we have discussed. Now we are coming to the final part of our discussion, that how to manage a patient of malaria. So if a patient is suffering from Plasmodium vivax, how will you know it? You have to do the microscopy. You can do it, you can diagnose the case mainly by microscopy or rapid antigen test or rapid diagnostic test. These tests try to find the antigen, the Plasmodium falciparum antigen or vivax antigen. So, but the gold standard is microscopy. This is the current guideline, that you should give chloroquine 250 mg at day 1, 4 tablets, so total 1000 mg. And remember that chloroquine 250 mg tablet contains 150 mg of base. So you can either say that chloroquine 150 mg base 4 tablets, that is total 600 mg base, or you can say that 250 mg of 4 tablets, that is 1000 mg. So either one is right, but you have to remember that base. So 250 mg of tablet contains 150 mg of base. So this is 4 tablets of such in the day 1, 4 tablets in day 2, and 2 tablets in day 3. So total 10 tablets. Total 10 tablets, and this is therapy for Plasmodium vivax. And day 1 to 14, you have to give primaquine 15 mg to every patient of Plasmodium vivax to prevent relapse. So basically it kills the hypnozoites. It kills the hypnozoites so that relapse does not occur. So that is the treatment to prevent relapse, and this is the standard treatment for Plasmodium vivax. But remember, primaquine should not be prescribed in pregnant women, infants, and known case of G6PD deficiency. This thing you have to remember, that when these are the conditions when we will not use primaquine. We will only give chloroquine to those patients. Otherwise, for normal adult patients, we will give chloroquine plus primaquine. Now, Plasmodium falciparum. There are some strains available for chloroquine sensitive, but in India the resistance is so high that we have taken this therapy, that ACT and ACT-SP. So these are ACT-SP, that means ACT with sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. The regime is like that. At all the days you will give artesunate 200 mg by oral route. So artesunate 200 mg, artesunate 200, artesunate 200 in all the 3 days. On the first days only, On the first day only you will give sulfadoxine 1500 milligram with pyrimethamine 75 milligram. So this is only for one day, the first day. And on the second day you will give pymaquine 45 milligram. Now this is to kill gametocytes. Okay, this is to kill gametocytes because Plasmodium falciparum does not have any hypnozoites. To kill hypnozoites, you are giving this pymaquine 15 milligram for 14 days. But for this condition, you are giving only one tablet, only 3 tablets of 15 milligram. So 3 into 15 milligram. 3 tablets of 15 milligram. But only on day 2. So this is only 3 days therapy. And this is enough for uncomplicated falciparum malaria. Remember, this is for uncomplicated only. But for northeast states, they have developed this resistance against the sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. So for northeast states, you will use this therapy, artemether 80 milligram along with lumefantrine 480 milligram. The same dose for 3 days. Day 1 to 3, you have to give this drug, and on the second day you have to give primaquine. So this is the therapy for northeast states, artemether, lumefantrine. But for otherwise, in other parts of India or in around the world, this is the most other parts of India, this is the drug we use, that ACT-SP combination, the sulfadoxine pyrimethamine. But most part in the world and in the northeast part in India, we will give that ACT-AL, that is artemether lumefantrine combination. Now, this was all about uncomplicated malaria. Now we are moving on to complicated or severe falciparum malaria. When we call it a patient that severe falciparum malaria, when he show any of these symptoms: jaundice, acidosis, coma, renal failure, anemia, convulsion, shock, hypoglycemia or pulmonary edema. These are the main features. When any of these features is present, you can call it severe falciparum malaria. And this chart is showing that the incidence of severe falciparum malaria, different presentations of severe falciparum malaria according to age. So you can see under 5 years, the anemia, the blue one, the anemia, this has highest incidence. But in elderly it is not that much. But in elderly, the incidence of acidosis, this is acidosis, the green one is jaundice. These things are mainly increased as the age progresses, and coma is also seen. This is the mainly presentation in with advanced age. But in lower age, the anemia is a very important presentation. So now you move on to how to treat this case, the severe malaria. The drug of choice is parenteral artemisinin. If it is available, then you give artesunate IV or intramuscularly 2.4 milligram per kg body weight at presentation, that is 0 hour, 12 hour, 24 hour and 48 hour. So artesunate 4 doses, or artemether intramuscular. You cannot give artemether as intravenous. So artemether intramuscular you can give 3.2 milligram per kg initially, then 1.6 milligram per kg from next day. So this is the artemisinin therapy. If it is not available in your area, then you can give quinine salt 20 milligram per kg. It should be run over 4 hours with dextrose with 5% DNS. Okay, so this thing you should remember always, that never give quinine bolus dose and always give quinine with dextrose. So this is the within first 4 hours you give 20 milligram per kg infusion. Then every 8 hours you give 10 milligram per kg again with 5% DNS solution, and it will be run over 4 hours. So this is the quinine regime. IV preparation should be preferred over intramuscular preparation. Patients with parenteral quinine should also be treated with full course of ACT. So suppose this patient responds, usually the severe malaria patient responds very quickly, within 24 to 48 hours, the patient should respond in most of the cases if you treat within proper time. So as soon as the quinine parenteral regime is done, you should give a full course of ACT. That means ACT AL or artemether lumefantrine combination as soon as the patient ends the quinine therapy. And parenteral should be given for minimum of 24 hours once started. So you have to give 24 hours at least once started. In first trimester of pregnancy, parenteral quinine is a drug of choice. So in pregnancy, this is drug of choice, not artemisinin. In infants also, because we do not have enough data that it is safe in pregnancy, and especially in some mice model, artemisinin has shown some incidence of teratogenicity. So in pregnancy, it is better to avoid artemisinin. We use quinine in case of pregnancy. And treatment of uncomplicated malaria in pregnancy, the ACT should be given for Plasmodium falciparum malaria in second and third trimester, but quinine is recommended in first trimester. So quinine, it is an old drug and it is a safe drug. It is known that it is safe. So pregnancy first trimester, you will give quinine. Pregnancy second and third trimester, you will give ACT, but only for Plasmodium falciparum. But if it is Plasmodium vivax, then you will give chloroquine. And if it is severe malaria, then you will treat the patient with quinine. So this was the treatment in pregnancy. So let's quickly recapitulate what we have learned by some therapeutic problem. So if male patient develops fever with chill and rigor, Plasmodium vivax found in blood smear, what will be the management of this case? So this is the patient's presenting feature is chill and rigor, and Plasmodium vivax is found. So I will request you to pause this video and try to answer it yourself. So okay, so this is the dose. So 150 milligram base, or you can write 250 milligram. So either one is correct. If you mention base, you have to write 150 milligram. So 4 tablets immediately, 4 tablets after 24 hours, 2 tablets after 48 hours. So total 10 tablets total. Primaquine 15 milligram base, 1 tablet once daily for 14 days. You should avoid it for pregnancy and G6PD deficiency and infants. And you can give paracetamol as antipyretic. Next, a person is willing to travel to an endemic area of malaria. What chemoprophylaxis has to be given to him? Subsequently, he developed chloroquine resistant malaria. How will you manage this case? So let's quickly check on that. So chemoprophylaxis, short-term chemoprophylaxis, we give with doxycycline. So according to, again, in our Indian guideline, for short-term prophylaxis, we will use doxycycline. You know that this drug, it acts by inhibition of protein synthesis. So similarly, as in bacteria, it has similar action against Plasmodium also. So you can give doxycycline 100 milligram once daily. You have to give 2 days before the travel and 4 weeks after leaving the endemic area. So for 2 weeks before and 4 weeks after, but up to 6 weeks. So suppose a patient, or I should not tell him patient, a person thinks that he will travel for 3 weeks. So he will stay in the endemic area for 3 weeks. So you have to start doxycycline before 2 days, and you should extend it at least after 4 weeks. So this should be the full regime. If the stay is much longer, more than 6 weeks, so according to Indian guideline, as per Indian guideline, you should give 200 milligram, 250 milligram weekly. Why weekly? Because again, mefloquine has very high volume of distribution and it remains inside the body for long, just like chloroquine. So you can also give chloroquine. Chloroquine also you can give, but Mefloquine, this is the present guideline. It says that 250 milligram weekly dose of mefloquine you can give, provided the patient does not have any psychiatric disorder. This thing you have to remember. This is a contraindication. If the patient has contraindication, psychiatric disease or history of convulsion or epilepsy, you should avoid this. Otherwise, you can give mefloquine 250 milligram weekly. It should be continued 2 weeks before and during and after. So again, if a patient, suppose he is staying for 2 months, suppose now the stay is much longer, more than 6 weeks, so 2 months. So you should start it 2 weeks before. Here it was 2 days in case of doxycycline. Here it is 2 weeks. And after, you should continue for 4 weeks after therapy. So this is the total duration of the therapy for chromoprophylaxis. Alternative drug, you can give atovaquone and proguanil. You can also give atovaquone and proguanil. This is an alternative, and you can also prescribe this therapy for chemoprophylaxis. And now the next part of the question was, subsequently he developed chloroquine resistant malaria. How will you manage this case? Now, as per Indian guideline, we will give artesunate for 3 days, 200 milligram, and on the first day we will give 1500 milligram of sulfadoxine and 75 milligram of pyrimethamine, as we have already discussed, and primaquine only single dose on day 2. So again this slide, yes. So again this slide. So this is the management of Plasmodium falciparum. You have to prescribe the patient this. So this was a very brief discussion about the pharmacotherapy of malaria. This is very important, especially in Indian context and for your examination purpose also. So let's end our discussion here. I will see you in the next class. Thank you for your patient listening.